Hello, and welcome to my NT Roadtrip 2021. In this amazing two-part series, join me on my great road trip, right from the tip-top of Australia, all the way down to its heart in the red centre. And this part focuses on the desert. Banka was my last night of sleeping in the car, and a part of me was a little bit upset about that. I woke up nice and early to ensure that I could hit the road south towards Alice. Today was going to be another 6 hours of driving, so I pumped my tunes and flowed with good vibes as I ventured off once more. Along the highway, there is a very unique natural landmark known as the Devil's Marbles. It's an area littered with giant stones, scattered around almost like someone just put them there for whatever purpose. Like most natural wonders of the outback, these monuments were formed over millions and millions of years, where pockets of stronger rocks did not erode as fast as others, leaving behind what we see today. Some areas of this national park are photography free, as they are considered Aboriginal sacred sites. The Devil's Marbles were used by traditional custodians as a meeting place or as a place to cool down. Exploring the gaps in between the rocks and crawling in the caves, it makes you understand why. Further down the Stuart Highway, I came across one of the more out-of-this-world locations. I didn't stay too long at this extraterrestrial petrol station before rocketing my way out of there. I'm currently sat on the Tropic of Capricorn. Right there. That's in line with the Tropic of Capricorn. Just across the Stuart Highway. There you go. This is supposed to be the red centre of Australia, and all I see is green. I want my money back! The green rolling hills of Alice Springs. The sign up here. Welcome to Alice Springs. Oh my god, I made it. I have made it to Alice Springs. Somewhere along my 12-hour journey across 2 days, I picked up a little friend. My bed for the next 2 nights was at Alice's Secret Travelers Inn, a pretty hipster hostel where I slept in a decked-out Hollywood camper. I would highly recommend this hostel to anyone travelling to Alice Springs on a budget. After I settled in and unloaded my belongings, I wound up on top of Anzac Hill in the middle of town, just in time for sunset. I'm always a massive sucker for sunsets, as anyone who knows me would tell you, but this particular one was an absolute beauty. It was now time to head into the West MacDonnell Ranges for the day. The West Macs are an incredible mountain range and national park west of Alice Springs. For my tour, I headed to the furthest point first, Ormiston Gorge. From there, I would snake my way back into town. So I'm at the West MacDonnell Ranges. It's about 10 o'clock in the morning. The sun's probably approaching 30 degrees. But man, it's beautiful, isn't it? Wow, it's like rolling green hills in the middle of the desert. It's insane. So apparently this place used to actually be at the bottom of the ocean 800 million years ago. So that's pretty cool. How it's changed over that many years. Such an ancient landscape I'm in right now. I'm loving it. What an easy walk for a stunning view. It's impossible for me to capture the scale of these mountains on my phone. I feel so tiny and insignificant next to these. At this point in the day, I was feeling pretty good, so I decided to trek to the Ormiston Pound lookout. And that tree was where I was before. I've walked all the way over here. Hasn't been too bad. Just like to point out there is zero shade along this walk. There's one or two tiny trees like this, but we're in the sun the whole way. Bloody hell. I'm not sure how long I've been walking for, but these flies are awful. The sun is really, really hot now, and I think I can almost see the lookout. And it's feeling maybe about 30 degrees. So I think this is the only place with walks this far in the national park from what I looked at. But I'm so close to the lookout, yet still so far. It's just there. I made it. I got all the way up this valley. That's the last bit. Once I made it to the top, it was so worth it. Oh my god. I'm lost for words. It's so beautiful. And I made it to the top of this. Oh. Long way down. Oh man. I'm so proud of myself for getting this far. I had conquered a true highlight of the Northern Territory. For some reason, I actually ran down the hill to get back to the bottom. Not really sure why I did that, but it did happen. Next up along the trail was the ochre pits. Aboriginal people used this ochre rock as a key ingredient when making paint for ceremonies. As a result, this place is a look and not touch site. I stopped at the serene Serpentine Gorge and the subpar Serpentine Gorge lookout. I was promised this was one of the best views in Central Australia. It's good, but for that walk, nah mate. Pound was infinitely better. I dabbled my feet in the tourist-ridden Ellery Creek Big Waterhole before darting out of there. I skipped the Simpsons Gap and detoured to my final spectacle in the Westmacs, Stanley Chasm. As I drove back to Alice Springs, the mountains on the horizon foreshadowed the Partjima Light Festival, which I would enjoy that night. Partjima is an annual light festival held in Alice Springs, which celebrates the traditional culture and owners of the land. It is an excellent opportunity for the locals to gather and experience what Indigenous artists have to offer. Due to the nature of the event and the quality of my camera, I'm simply unable to capture the true sense of really being there. I hope these photos suffice. Those lights you can see in the background are actually being shone onto the mountain. For the moment, this is my last day at Alice Springs before the next big 4-hour drive even further into the outback. I had a free morning, so I hit up a mate back in Sydney for something to do in Alice Springs before I left. He recommended the Royal Flying Doctor Museum, and I was not disappointed. The Flying Doctor service was founded by Dr. John Flynn in 1928 as a non-profit medical service for Australians living in the frontier. Some of these remote citizens would have to travel for days to reach the nearest hospital or medical centre. But with the invention of commercial flight and radio, medical help came to them in a matter of hours. "10 out of 10 would recommend the Royal Flying Doctor Service Museum. Made me very proud to be an Australian seeing the great work they do. Definitely recommend it if you ever come to Alice Springs." I then swung by the Alice Springs Art Gallery, who had one of the friendliest curators who I'd ever met, and she was happy enough to show me around some of the works. These particular works were some of my favourites. Alright, finished in Alice. It's about midday now. Gonna hit the road and finally see Uluru after like 3,000 k's of driving. I still got like 500 to go, but I'm gonna finally see Uluru. So excited. Let's go. On the road again. It's about a 4.5 hour drive to Uluru from Alice, but due to a lack of traffic, I actually managed to get there in under 4 hours. And in no way was my hope crushed when I thought Mount Connor was Uluru. Don't know who on earth would fall for that. Oh, I'm so close. I'm so close now. There are the Olgas. And Uluru is just behind the hills over here. There you go. You can see the rock. Just over there in the distance. I have made it. So I'm nicely freshly showered. Had a good wash. This is my hotel room tonight and tomorrow night. Kind of a little bit fancier than where I've been. So I've got my Sounds of Silence dinner on tonight. So I'm gonna have a little bit of a nap now and then able to enjoy the sunset with a nice banquet of food. The Sounds of Silence dinner was my little splurge this holiday. It's a fine dining experience outdoors where you watch the sunset over Uluru and the Olgas. It's certainly not cheap, but definitely the experience of a lifetime. Guests are served unlimited wine or beer with a variety of native Australian cuisine, including kangaroo and crocodile. Don't worry, there's more of the traditional red meats and poultry as well. The climax of the evening is after everyone has finished their meals and all the lights are turned off. And lo and behold, stars. I have never seen so many stars in my entire life. I didn't take any photos or film during it because I simply wanted to be fully immersed. I guess you'll just have to come and see it for yourself. I wholeheartedly recommend this experience to anyone travelling to Uluru. So it's about 5:30 in the morning. It is freezing right now, but I'm going to drive to the sunrise viewing area. Let me just film here with the light. I'm going to drive to the sunrise viewing area because I've missed a couple of sunsets on this trip. This is the I've missed a few sunrises on this trip, but this is a sunrise I'm not going to miss. And so I'm heading out to the Uluru sunrise viewing area. I'm going to watch it and then I'm going to walk around it this morning
in the cooler weather and see where the day goes from there. Sounds of Silence dinner last night was absolutely breathtaking. It was so beautiful to be in such a remote place, yet have all these amazing luxuries, like all this food and amazing people. The table I was on was just divine, the best company, and seeing the stars like that was spectacular. And we had an indigenous astronomer kind of talk to us about all the different constellations and what they mean and the dreaming stories behind them all. It was absolutely spectacular. It's expensive, but I'd recommend if anybody who comes here, it's worth it, absolutely. It's so faint on the camera, but I am at the sunrise lookout, watching the sunrise, and I'm here all by myself. I can see the outline of the rock with my eyes. My camera's not picking it up. It's huge. And two of us has just arrived, but I'm going to get about 10 minutes, I think, by myself.
It seems I was very selfie happy that morning. While taking those photos, I met a bloke called Josh, who had driven all the way from Melbourne by himself. We decided we'd walk together around Uluru and the Olgas. As we approached Uluru, the absolute sheer size of this monolith was at the forefront of my mind. Uluru stands at about 300 metres high on average and takes a good couple hours to circumnavigate. As we rambled our way around the rock, we were able to explore caves and great ravines. We also took time to appreciate some of the ancient artwork found at this sacred site. An interesting thing about Josh is he could actually speak Tok Pisin, as he'd spent some time volunteering in Papua New Guinea as well. Needless to say, a unique highlight was speaking Tok Pisin with a fellow Australian in the middle of the outback. What you're looking at now is known as the Scar of Uluru. This used to be where climbers would walk up onto the rock. However, this was made illegal in 2019 as a sign of respect for the sacred site. After visiting the cultural centre, where photography is not allowed, we convoyed our way 40 minutes west to the Olgas. We were going to walk through the Valley of the Winds, and it certainly lived up to that name. It was absolutely ferocious in there. Personally, I felt that the Olgas were actually more impressive than Uluru in some regards. Alas, Uluru remains the postcard destination of Australia. and rightfully so. My shoes were sufficiently coated in a red dust which would take months to come clean. I headed up to the lookout trail for one final glance at Uluru before sunset. I thought it was such a fitting way to end such a fantastic day. And this was meant to be the end of my planned itinerary. I had to get back to Alice Springs the next day for a flight home and to return the car the following morning. I was planning on an easy day. However, I ended up at Kings Canyon. Let me explain. During the Sounds of Silence dinner the night before, I met a fellow traveller, Christina. Christina had come to Uluru with a tour booked to get to Alice Springs. The whole tour was cancelled on her, so she was basically stranded. I got to talking with her and told her that I was heading back to Alice Springs if she needed a ride. She accepted my offer. Her tour was actually meant to go to Kings Canyon, a place that I scrapped from my plan as it was too far out of the way and I thought it'd be too dangerous to go alone. She tried to convince me to take us to Kings Canyon because she knew that it would be amazing. I said yes. So with another early morning wake up, we hit the road towards Alice Springs via Kings Canyon. What a stroke of fate this was. Kings Canyon turned out to be completely worth the detour. I'll just let the footage speak for itself. What an absolutely beautiful place. Turned out I'd actually painted Kings Canyon a long time ago. Throughout the day, I found out a lot about Christina. She was a teacher, loved to travel, and is fluent in 6 different languages. Truly a remarkable woman with an amazing skill. The road to Alice Springs from Kings Canyon is quite treacherous and known as the Merenee Loop. Christina and I shared our travel stories and what our families do back home. This made the drive a lot faster. Upon arriving into town, I took her to one of my favourite sunset spots, Anzac Hill, and we bid goodbye. Meeting unique people with amazing stories is one of the most memorable parts of travelling for me, and something I always try to do. So I'm here at Alice Springs Airport, end of the trip. Finally come to an end. Yesterday was a much bigger day than I planned. Did Kings Canyon and the Merenee Loop with Christina, who turned out to be a real good value for time. It was amazing that I sat next to her on that bus going to Sounds of Silence, because then we started to chat and figured out we were both going to Alice Springs again, and we had the best day with each other exploring Kings Canyon and exploring the outback together. Trip's finally now coming to an end. Returned the car. It was about 3,600 kilometers done this trip, which I'm pretty happy with. That's a good effort. And yeah, time to fly back home via Adelaide and get back into the normal way of life, I suppose. So goodbye Northern Territory. It's been great.